All right, I have 10 o'clock. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So make sure I had the right time. All right. Good morning. Welcome to Pre-MLS Marketing Pitfalls and Best Practices. This is a new program. I've only done it once before. In this format, I have added it to other classes or segments of other classes, but I pulled it apart and added a few things to it uh, to kind of address what happened a few months ago, what actually goes into effect for all other MLSs on May 1st relative to pre-marketing your properties. And so I wanted to give you or equip you with a couple options to help promoting the property, building a little bit of interest before it goes active in MLS under the context of the new MLS, NAR, and Bright MLS rules. So again, this class is one of those response classes. Like we put it together to make sure you have what you need to get things done. And well, let's just jump in here. So you know who I am, so we're gonna move on. I want to give you the framework for what we're getting ready to discuss so that you understand who the consumer is. You know, here at CBE, we do a lot of focusing in our marketing strategy on being intentional and having consumer personas, like writing a little paragraph story about who you're targeting with what you're doing. So let's talk a little bit about the consumers that we're looking to address. Those consumers that we're looking to engage before the listing goes fully active in MLS. 32% of them are boomers, 61% are divided between Gen X and millennials. The average home buyer is about 34 years of age, 33% of them the first time home buyers. Home ownership is their primary motivation. So of all the reasons given why they want to buy a home, it isn't equity, it isn't tax write-off, it isn't control, it's simply just they want to own their own home. And the average time in the process is about 18 to 23 months, which means they're looking well in advance of the day they actually pull the trigger and go to closing. So knowing that that's who they are, let's talk about what they do. The first steps in the home buying process, 44% of them looked online. That was the very first step. Now, it's important to remember that 97% of them will engage the internet and use the internet as part of their process for the entire time of their buying process. But their very first step is they looked online. 17% contacted an agent and 11% looked online at the process or looked up the process. 7% contacted a lender, 6% drove by the home or a home or neighborhood, and 4% visited an open house. That was the very first step. So to put this in context, that 4% visit an open house, they were thinking about buying, they hadn't really started any process. They're like, hey, look, there's a house down the street that's open, or they saw an open house sign on the side of the road and decided to pop in and take a look. 6% said, I really think if we buy again, I'd like to buy in Fawn Lake. So they run up to Fawn Lake and they go make a trip around. Not that they could, but you get the gist. 7% said, let's call a lender and see what we can qualify before we look for anything. And then there are other three going in reverse order, we kind of know. So that's their first step. Now, where they actually found the home they purchased, so this is a home they actually closed on, they found 50% of them, half of your buyers found it on the internet. It shouldn't be a big surprise to you. Matter of fact, I was a little surprised the number was that low still. 28% their agent sent them the listing. Now, this is just this weekend, I made a comment on Facebook. I've done that once in a while. You may have seen them. I made a comment on Facebook, and there was a bunch of different sub-contexts or sub-comments rather. And one of them was a person who said, yeah, I'm trying to sell my own home. And I teased her a little bit for saying that online, and then of course went in for it. And a few hours later, we are chatting. We are having a full-blown listing appointment by Zoom from a comment she made about selling her house on Facebook. That house went active last night in MLS. One of the major selling points to me of that FISBO becoming a client was that she's only reaching half of the potential buyer pool by putting it in Zillow. And she was still getting a few showings, by the way. I mean, she was doing okay with it. But that was what really sent over the top. The next stage for that, by the way, was what are you doing now to keep your family safe during COVID? What are you doing now to make sure that buyers are pre-qualified? I mean, there was a whole list of things just because of our current health situation that really, I think, pounded that home. And so by the end of the hour and 15 minutes, we were filling out a listing agreement on zip form. So These stats not only help you target who your consumer is when you're doing your marketing, but it helps you to convert those sellers who may otherwise not know these numbers. And this very chart is what I was using as part of that conversion process. So 28% of agents still bring the client. That's still the agent is setting up emails, letting them know about properties that are coming up, letting them know about things that are coming soon, listing MLS is coming soon. And that's a pretty high ratio. Matter of fact, when we looked at that number and we watched trends over the past 5 years, the internet was growing and growing and growing. And what actually slowed down, one of the projections of what slowed down the internet being the primary source of contact for where the buyer found the home they purchased, was that a lot of these properties are not going on the internet at first. They are going in as coming soon. Now that's good and bad. That means that the agent became the impetus for that contact. It's bad in that there's a whole lot of other stressors and pitfalls we're going to talk about in a minute that were coming about because of coming soon status. And then yard sales, friends, buyers, all the rest. And so let's talk about the difference between coming soon and pocket listing. So let me just say, first of all, I was incredibly impressed with our group. I wasn't all surprised that you met my expectations, I think. But when Pre-MLS launched their notice about coming soon status changing and being far more limited than it used to be to reduce some of the abuses of it, agents all over our region, here locally in town, especially Northern Virginia, lost their minds. I mean, it was just a rampage of just negative comments and bizarre statements and conspiracy theories about NAR, just stuff that made no sense. And I didn't see you all participating at all. And I was very thankful and very impressed in the fact that we kept our stuff together and was not part of the mob or the group. A big part of that mob, of that craziness, was people who were confusing coming soon versus pocket listings. And so to give it context here, when we're taking a listing that is only mine, I'm the only person that knows about it, or my office is the only person that knows about it, also known as office exclusive, it's a pocket listing. We are reserving it and preserving it for ourselves with the intent to double-sided. Coming soon is to say, I'm letting you all know, I'm putting it out there to the public as much as I am able, that this house will be coming soon available, and we are going to allow purchasers and other agents to be involved in it. There is a pretty significant difference in the two. Pocket listings and office exclusive listings rarely serve a client's interest at all. There is very narrow reasons why we would want to have these. I have experienced them. I have had, in one case, in all these years, and only one case, I've had a pocket listing. And the reason for it was that the seller was also a landlord. The tenant was crazy. We tried putting it active. The tenant lost their mind. And we decided, okay, let's just keep it in our office for now until the tenant moves out in 2 months. So the listing remains active. If we stumble on a buyer, great, it makes sense. Otherwise, I've never seen the value of a pocket listing because I don't do dual agency. So there is no value to me. And when you start breaking it down, this is what NAR, Pre-MLS, and our rule makers, so to speak, were trying to address, was that there was a strong abuse of pocket listings for the pure value of dual agency and double ending the property. There wasn't a lot of, not that there isn't some, but there wasn't a tremendous amount of notable benefit for sellers in pocket listings. Coming soon is different. So let's talk about the benefits of pre-marketing or pre-MLS marketing. So making the public know about a property before it goes active in MLS. One, it does create some buzz among buyers. The theory being that buyers may get excited about an exclusive opportunity or a reserved opportunity or being at the door the day that it happens, right? We see this during Cyber Mondays, Black Fridays, not Cyber Mondays, because no one's standing outside of the door for a cyber thing, but Black Friday. You see people actually in tents outside of stores the night before. They can make it kind of cool, and they were there first, and they got whatever when they walked in the door. But as we've watched over the years, people have gotten away from that kind of excitement and buzz of the day, getting the thing the day the door opens. It only becomes interesting now if it is, as we are in now, a market with few properties and more buyers, and we have active listings where sellers are withdrawing from the market because they don't think anybody's going to come through, or they're concerned about safety, or whatever reason that they have. So we have a shortage of listings and we have a surplus of buyers. The other reason maybe to stop buyers from making offers on their house. So this to me is the most prevalent and prevailing reason for coming soon. I put it in MLS, I mark it as coming soon because they have flooring they have to fix, walls they have to paint, something they have to do. And the buyer agent, if they are so inclined, when they do searches for homes in particular or targeted subdivisions on behalf of their buyer, will include coming soon. And um, and part of that inclusion of coming soon forewarns the buyer about potential offers. So let's say a buyer really wants to be in a neighborhood because that's where their brother and his wife live, and that's just really where they want to be. They need to live near family, or mom and dad are there and they're taking care of them, so they want to be in that subdivision. And so they've been looking there for a couple months, and finally they're like, we don't like anything in here, but this one house kind of meets our criteria. If we put 20 grand into it, we can do all the things we need to do to make it work. Let's just buy that one. If their agent is looking and coming soon in MLS, they can go, hold up, let's pause for a second. This house that's 2 or 3 doors down seems to be all the things you were looking for. It's going to come into market in a week. Let's not make an offer on the house that isn't your favorite. Let's wait and see if this other offer can come in, or do some other things that we'll talk about in a bit. So to me, that's the most probably really the only sound rationale I've seen for coming soon that serves the seller and buyer. A lot of the other reasons for pre-marketing is simply to benefit the agent, or to some extent the seller in a small portion, but never the buyer. So, and we can make any good salesperson can sit here and make up any reason they want to try to justify this. But when you really boil down to the most basic, undisputable logic, or indisputable logic, rather, most of these rationales go away, right? There's always a better argument. I've said this for years and years and years. If you put me in front of any seller who has common sense and who is reasonable, and you put me in front of them for 10 minutes, I will break down every benefit to them that has been put before them of coming soon. I feel confident that any reasonable seller will listen to me for 10 minutes and go, yeah, I don't know about the coming soon thing. Let's just make it active, or let's just wait till the day we're ready, with the exception of listing and coming, and MLS is coming soon. But any public marketing coming soon, coming through signs and all the rest, doesn't necessarily serve it. This one serves both buyer and seller, in that the seller really wants to try to get any type of attention they can, but they're not quite ready for actual showings or access for whatever reason. And somebody will see it in MLS and stop the buyer from making another offer to focus on this property. And then the next one is increase the privacy for the seller. Some sellers do want to reduce the number of feet in the house, generally for a limited period of time. They've got their mom living there who's sick, and maybe they're trying to take care of her or whatever. And then, somebody actually put out the argument, well, what if I list celebrity homes out there and they don't want it to go public and all the rest? Well, if you are at such a high level as an agent that you're listing celebrity homes, luxury homes for celebrities, you probably have a fairly decent book of opportunities for buyers in that same luxury group, or at least know a network in which you may be able to engage. And sure, the seller may say, I don't want it nonetheless. There's a mechanism for that as well. The other benefits for pre-MLS marketing, is just reduced foot traffic. So if you are doing some type of advanced marketing, and a buyer is truly, honestly, from an interested buyer wants to make an offer, they can come in on day one instead of putting it on a Wednesday and then waiting to the weekend and having stragglers for 4 or 5 days. This is particularly important now with health issues, health risk issues. But it may reduce foot traffic rather. Limits time needed to keep home show ready, and then dual agency may decrease commissions for the seller. That's the one that you actually see a lot of agents sitting down with their sellers and saying is like, hey, let's do coming soon. Let me just put it on my own social media and see what's going on with that. If I get a buyer in, yeah, I'll lower part of my commission, so I'll do dual agency, and that seems to be an argument a lot of sellers are hearing now. Now, there's some pitfalls to all of this, as you can imagine. One is it limits the buyers to the agent's personal marketing here. This is a big one for me. So an agent says, I'm going to go ahead and do some marketing for you. And I'm going to put it on my Facebook, my business page for Facebook, which is, your mom and your dad and your brothers and sisters. And even they've blocked you because it's a lot of marketing. You may have 5 or 6 active buyers. At any given time, of the 100 people only about 2.5 of them are actually interested in actively buying. So in your sphere of influence, you're looking at 2.5% of every 100, or 2.5 people out of every 100 are actually looking at buying and selling. Now, understand that the average consumer knows of 5 to 6 agents, and so those 2.5 people who are looking at buying property probably already have an agent who is already looking at MLS, who has already been putting them on feeds and things. So it's a very small niche of potential buyers if you're looking at your personal sphere, which is generally going to be social media or email campaigns out to your CRM. So the pre-marketing also limits the potential for the multiple offers. Now, I know some of you don't necessarily like doing multiple offers, but they are a reality, and they are almost always, undoubtedly, in the seller's best interest. So multiple offers allow you to strategically apply elements of one to another to negotiate the highest and best amongst anybody who is competing. It also makes appraisers feel more comfortable knowing that you had multiple offers and multiple buyers were interested in the property at the sales price, especially if you're at the top of that market. And so multiple offers, whereas it's a little bit more work for you, and it's the unfortunate side of calling an agent going, hey, you sucked, and you didn't get the listing. Somebody else did, or the contract, somebody else did. You may not feel comfortable with that, but that is part of the job. And multiple offers are almost always going to serve the seller better, even including the next point, which is the psychological impact of the seller. So seller says coming soon, you bring forth the buyer through dual agency, or just from your coming soon sign that was out there for a week before the listing. And the seller accepts it, and the buyer is squirrely. The buyer wants more repairs than the seller thinks are reasonable. There's a whole number of other things going on. And the seller goes, you know what? We did not do ourselves justice by taking this first offer presented to us. There's other buyers out there. There's certainly other people who are interested in our property, and I'm sure that they're better and easier to work with. If you have a situation where that house has been active and fully marketed for a week and a half, and this is the first buyer, the sellers are now getting some different mindsets, saying, our house wasn't nearly as attractive as we thought it was. It took us 2.5 weeks to get this offer, or a month, or however long. If they get 3 or 4 offers in a multiple offer, then they go, we picked the best one based on the information provided, and we know we got the best one, and they become a little bit easier to work with, the sellers do, because they're thinking any other buyer would have expected this as well. Also, some pitfalls. The appraiser may not consider valid contract a questionable sales price. Again, if you did not have a full open market, and this has actually come up twice this year, in which there have been transactions that I've been asked to look at where the appraiser was saying this was not fully exposed to the market and the asking price is questionably high, I can't get there. And they've made notes of those in the appraisals. And why would they not? Because it's the truth, right? It wasn't an open competitive market. It was a buyer that the listing agent brought forth, and the theory is the listing agent may have convinced the buyer to present an offer at a sales price that a normal non-dual agency buyer would not have presented, and that that it wasn't fully open to the market to see what kind of competition, and if there was maybe even lower offers that may have come in. And in dual agency or non-client relationships, reduce risk to agent and services to clients. So that's supposed to be the other way. One of the pitfalls is that dual agency increases the risk to the agent and reduces the services to the client. Let's rearrange that whole sentence. Of all things, I can't believe I got that one wrong. That's my big pet peeve. The dual agency will always reduce, especially if it's done the way that it's legally required to do, will significantly reduce the services you can offer to buyer and or seller, and will increase the risk to you as an agent. And then the last one is just repetitive. I didn't do really well on that slide, did I? I'll fix that later. So here's what the clear cooperation policy says. NAR passed a clear cooperation policy, and what we're going to do is cover a summary of that several page policy. Now, understand that what I'm getting ready to talk about next is we talk about next is what we are going to be discussing as far as it relates to Bright MLS. For those of you who are members of Northern Neck MLS and Charlottesville and Richmond and wherever else that you're members of, there may be some slight changes to how they're going to implement this. Here's what you need to understand. That MLSs are a unique animal in the business world. And at MLSs, there is no insurance or liability coverage out there for MLSs in that type of business because, again, they're such a small niche. They're big business and they're expensive business, but there's not a lot of insurances out there. So NAR sets up an insurance, a liability insurance program, or an insurance rather program to cover their liability for MLSs across the country. And they will only insure the policies against or for those MLSs when the MLSs actually agree to terms that are outlined in the MLS guidelines. Now, Bright MLS is not an association-owned MLS. It is a tech company who does MLS, which is why we get more services and better platforms and a lot of better stuff because we don't have the political issues of small MLSs. They have an interest and we have representation on the board of directors because all the board of director members, not all, but the board of director members for Bright MLS are practicing brokers. So we have influence over them, but it is a different animal than association-driven MLSs, which is the majority of the country. And so they are adhering to this MLS policy to keep their insurance policies. Bright MLS did it before NAR released it because they went, this is the right thing to do. And they sit in those meetings and they're involved in those policy decisions and lead in a lot of instances, a lot of these MLSs. Bright MLS is a massive MLS in the country compared to most others. And I think there's only one or two larger. I'm not sure. I think there's only two that are larger. So they definitely have a seat at the table. So they took this and said, we're going to do our own version of this. And actually, the Bright MLS version is a little bit more lenient than the NAR policies that may affect the other MLSs that you're in. All right, I have a question here. I always thought the coming soon status was only seen by other agents. However, recently realized they are going out and auto email searches and save searches, as it's always been that way. It actually has been that way. So here's what's changed. It's a great question. So coming soon listings were entered in MLS, and it wasn't until really this change of the policy that agents started paying attention to coming soon being more important. And so what was happening is agents were only choosing active to put into their email campaigns and notifications and all of that. Bright MLS then defaulted when you're setting up save searches for sending out or doing searches on your own, they defaulted to coming soon. And lo and behold, agents, when they didn't have to click a button, when they just went with the default, are now finding these great listings that are good opportunities for their clients. So a unintended byproduct of this policy change and all the interest going to it was a few computer changes about the default settings for searches and the agents becoming much more aware that this was a serious thing. And there was a tremendous number of properties listed as coming soon in MLS that we weren't seeing, or buyers weren't seeing, and other buyer agents were. Additionally, what we're seeing is buyers seeing the coming soon status on for sale signs or in MLS or people talking about it. And they were then saying, do you have any of these? What listings do you have? It's actually interesting. I was noticing once or twice, not every day, but once or twice I'd actually seen messages on our company Facebook page going, do you all have listings, any new listings? Basically saying, do you have anything I haven't seen already on Zillow or Realtor? And I think it's important to remember too, as we're talking about this, that it's reported that Zillow and Realtor.com only have about 87% of active listings in the market. Because remember, there are some brokers who still, in 2020, for reasons completely unknown to me, still don't believe that they should be aggregating their listings. That means that there's small, and I say small, Long & Foster only started doing it a few years back. They were one of the last holdouts of big companies that they were not aggregating their listings. Their agents had to do it manually. So if they did it at all. So there's still a lot of small companies where that broker's just like, I just don't like that Zillow. They're going to take over one day. And so they're not putting their listings on MLS. So MLS aggregators only care about 87% of active listings. So that's why your consumers are asking now for coming soon listings or things that aren't being found on a routine self-service site. All right, so going back to our NAR clear cooperation policy, it's going into effect no later than May 1st. Listings must be entered into MLS with 1 business day from the first public marketing. Now, other MLSs, non-Bright MLS, other MLSs were electing to do 1 day. Bright MLS did 1 business day. So this is an important distinction, remember, because it's going to tie into some of the best practice that I've stolen from all over the country and from some of our own agents in just a minute. All of these listings, when we're talking about 1 business day, means that in theory, if you really want to like get the word out a few days ahead of time, means that you can start advertising on Friday and Saturday and Sunday for a coming soon status and make it active by the end of the day on Monday, right? So you get a whole 3.5 days where in theory, you could be marketing and advertising and building some energy for that listing that's gonna, surprise, come available on Monday. I actually like this technique. My apprehension about coming soon has inherently always been an apprehension of people who are doing this for weeks or months at a time, and who were, quite frankly, and plenty of evidence to support this, doing it solely to double in the property. So you all know that I do a lot of work with professional standards and rules and regs, and I follow up on a lot of different cases that V4 publishes at the end of the year. And there was a lot of this nonsense going on, and it was abuse of coming soon. California did the same thing. California, about 4 or 5 years ago, I remember, reported that 47% of property that sold never saw the MLS. They were doing coming soon and they were dual agency. And then the California Association of Realtors spent a tremendous amount of money marketing direct to consumer to say, you want to be an MLS and here's all the benefits for it. And they saw a massive turn when they started explaining to sellers the benefit of active MLS non-coming soon marketing. That number went from 47% to 11% in 1 year, because sellers were now being made aware of the damages they could incur by an agent trying to double in the property or not full-throatedly marketing it to other buyers and other people. And so that started to curtail some of that. And then we started seeing on the East Coast some of this behavior happening again. And so NAR said, okay, we're chasing our tails here. If we believe we're representing the seller's best interest, then we should, in fact, represent the seller's best interest and get it to an open market. So that's why they installed these. So I have never been opposed to a coming soon for a few days beforehand, especially public marketing for a few days, or MLS marketing coming soon for even up to 2 weeks. If the seller has legitimate reasons why they need to repair the house, get up and running, fix or adjust a few things, or maybe they're on vacation in a particular week and you need time to get your photos and virtual tours and all that stuff together. Let me just say this. A little bit of organization will really narrow down that time. So if you can talk to the seller on today being Thursday and say they want to be active next Friday, check around and see what photographers are available if you're not doing your own photography, and virtual tours, who's available to do those things, and then plan accordingly. You really shouldn't need 2 weeks to get photos and virtual tours. I do them myself for me because I invested in the equipment and the time to learn it, and I enjoy doing that. And yesterday I spent 2 hours at a property and walked out with a virtual tour, a video, and 45, 50 good shots, and and came home and listed the property. So I don't understand when people tell me they need 3 weeks to get all their marketing assets together. I just don't. So use some common sense, plan this stuff out. If you need to get people on site to do the professional stuff, and again, if you are not investing in the right equipment and don't have an eye for it or don't have time for it, certainly hire people. But generally speaking, there's enough providers around here that they can be out in a few days to a week. You don't need 3 weeks to do that. All right, the next stand that the policy took was what public marketing is. So public marketing, it is bizarre to me the number of weird conversations I've seen about, well, is it public marketing if? Public marketing is pretty much a statement that's defined. It stands on its own. You're letting people in the world know that this house is for sale. That's public marketing. And there's been a lot of, again, bizarre conversations about it. Marketing is marketing. Hopefully you all understand the premise of marketing and you understand what the public is. So anytime that you give notice outside of your own office. Now, remember, our own office is because Kevin is our broker. Everything that happens is under his license. Therefore, we're allowed to share things within our own company, and that's not public. But anything else, any other agent group, any buyers, anybody in your network, that's all considered a public. Anything outside of licensed agents in your own firm will be public. And anytime that you identify the property, that's an important distinction to make in a minute. Identify the property in the fact that it's for sale, that's public marketing. And we talk about office exclusive. This also includes private broker networks. If they are outside of your own company that's public, it is not private any longer. And all of this, if your seller legitimately says, I do not want to be an MLS, I do not want to be aggregated to websites, I don't want other agents to know about it, I only want you, the listing agent, to have the opportunity to double end it and make more money, you can put a for sale sign and put coming soon in the front yard or put for sale. And that's okay. If the seller says all those things, they can sign a certificate. There is no defined legal stance. This is all on MLS policy. And last I saw, there was a certificate being circulated that the sellers needed to sign saying, we are foregoing MLS marketing. Now, let me just stop and say this is an important thing to make, a point to make, that your seller who is making that decision, maybe because they don't want it in Zillow. And when someone came to me about 2 months ago and said, hey, look, my seller wants to sell, but they do not want their now or recently ex-spouse to know they're selling their house. They own it outright. That was an endorsed decree. It's been quick claimed over to them. The ex-spouse has no claim to it, isn't going to financially accept it. They're just going to harass them and they don't want them to know. They really don't want it on Zillow and Realtor and all the rest. They are okay with it being an agent-to-agent communication MLS. Cool. Since 2009, we've had these 4 questions in MLS under the Virtual Office website, Department of Justice agreement with MLS and an AR, and you click the button that says it's not going to go out to the public websites. It doesn't go out to the public websites, and you stop the aggregation. That is not what we're talking about. The aggregators, rather, not the aggregation. That's pretty funny old point. But anyway, the aggregators, it doesn't go out to the aggregators. So the seller could, if they wanted to say, I only want an MLS, I don't want it in Zillow, I want my ex-spouse to see pictures inside the house or whatever, you can make that election. That's nothing to do with coming soon or this policy. You've always been able to do that. And in coming soon listing status and MLSs, again, I think all the MLSs that we serve, I'm not sure about the one down in Chesapeake, about Rain. I'm not sure if Rain has it. All the rest of them have some version of coming soon. So coming soon status in MLS is fine. That is different. That is not considered the same. What they're saying is, if you have a house and you and the seller agree to put a coming soon sign in the yard, you have to enter it in the MLS within 1 business day. Putting it in MLS can be listed as coming soon so people can know about it, but it doesn't mean automatically that there are feet walking in the door, that there are buyers interested in it. The simplicity of this policy is that all they're asking you to do is let the other agents know that it's coming up and when it's coming up, and that it needs to be active within 2 weeks. So there really isn't any, there's no nefarious intent. There's no one trying to make money off of your listings more than those entities always have. It is simply trying to do the best for the seller and give other agents a choice. Now, one of the benefits, or one of the restrictions I did not put in here, one of the pitfalls I didn't put in here and I meant to, is if any of you watched a few months back, there was a scathing documentary done about fair housing violations in Rhode Island, and it was bad. I mean, it was bad. It was undeniable evidence of blatant fair housing violation by these agents, and it happens all over the country, and it happens all the time. It is you're not going to convince me. I've seen way too much evidence of agents intentionally or unintentionally violating fair housing. When you start excluding people and you have listed as coming soon and you only answer certain calls or you only make it available to certain people, you're 100%, regardless of your intent, opening yourself up to a claim of fair housing violation. And when you go, well, I just don't answer other agents' calls, but I will take a call from a buyer because I'm trying to convert them for other properties. it doesn't help your situation. It makes it way worse. And so some pretty strong accusation and made. Actually, there's been 2 complaints filed, not in Virginia, against agents who had it listed as coming soon, were selectively letting buyers in. And one seems to be pretty solid evidence that they were alienating African American and Hispanic buyers and only answering and showing property to white buyers. The other one is very loose. The evidence is very sketchy and probably won't go anywhere. All right, so let me check. Yeah, Benita, I was going to call you out, but I didn't see you had logged in earlier. Benita says Rain does not have coming soon because Rain is bizarrely different. All right, Lori, 21 days or 2 weeks. Yes, it's up to 21 days. 2 weeks is what the initial policy said, and then they did extend it to 21. 21 days. Thank you for bringing it back up. Make sure I can clarify that. Okay, and yes, rain is rain. They certainly are. Okay, so so again, that's the other pitfall to it. So let's talk about a couple ways to get the word out about this. Now, some of these things are going to be things that you've already seen and talked about. I'm going to narrate a little bit about that and expand on a little bit. And then some other things or things to consider when we're looking at that 3-day window. So again, if we're looking at the seller isn't quite ready to make it active and they need a weekend to get things done, or you need a weekend to get the right marketing put together, there are some things that can be done in those 3 days to get it out there. Again, you have the 21 days to put it in coming soon in MLS, and you can do some public, a little bit of light public stuff, so long as it's listed in MLS. So again, the non-MLS entry is gonna be limited to 1 business day. So again, if you start on Friday, by the end of the day, Monday, you have to have it listed. But for the rest of the stuff, you can do it any time that it's listed as coming soon. So the obvious ones, the ones we use all the time, are signs, riders, directional signs. I put out an email about this not too long ago. Stafford, Spotsylvania, and Fredericksburg have redone their guidelines about these weekend signs, and they are really, really, really serious. They have sent a lot of notices, a lot of threats, all of a sudden, more than I've seen in any time in the past 20 years or so, about how they're going to find people where they see directional signs up. They are confiscating them, they are throwing them away. There used to be people who would collect them and call you so you can come get your sign. Now they're just trashing them. If you are putting them anywhere they're not supposed to be, in medians, directionals outside of subdivisions, I would strongly suggest. Northern Virginia has always done this, by the way. The one thing that was different in Northern Virginia, Prince William especially, they actually had volunteers who would ride around the county during the weekends and they just throw people's signs in their pickup trucks, directional signs or any signs they saw that was out of compliance. And they would take them to the county shop, and the county would, I don't know if the rumor was they would pay these folks a couple bucks. I don't know that that was true, but they would drop off the signs at the county shop just because they didn't want the ugly directional signs and new construction signs and all stuff in the median. So those are the obvious ones. The next one is to have some to use Canva. We push Canva all the time for everything. Canva is a great way to go create some graphics, some quick share graphics on these things before they're fully active in MLS. And this is just an example. A lot of the stuff I just put together for class, but just putting coming soon in the picture of the house, no address, no price, no anything. Just put it out there, especially if you have waterfront or it's something super unique about the property. Those may be good things. Just create quick graphic little hints about it. Maybe it's an indoor pool and it's just a picture of the pool, but it's nothing that really identifies the property, just to let people know it's coming soon. So 2 or 3 engaging graphics to share on social is going to help build some interest and ask questions and solicit clients. Brittany did this. I stole it. She happened to do this the day I was putting together this presentation, and I really kind of liked how this played out. Because I don't know. I don't know that I would do this. I can barely find time to spread mulch in my own house. But Brittany says, spreading mulch for my newest listing in 28-degree weather. I may be a little crazy, but it needed to get done. New listing in Park Ridge. Notice that she didn't put where the property was, simply saying it's going to be in Park Ridge. I'm putting some mulch out. Picture's not immediately identifiable. And my presumption would be if somebody is following her in her social sphere and they're interested in buying a home and they've got fatigue from zipping through Zillow and not finding what they want, and Lakewood was particularly interesting to them, they would contact her. So This serves to share a little bit about what you're doing. It made it kind of a funny thing to see her standing out there looking cold in 20-degree weather with mulch. Those are things that normally don't go together, and to create an opportunity. This is the graphic I made up solely for this class. I do not have a listing that has a see-through bathtub in it. This is a graphic that Angel and I use when we teach smart home stuff. Let me just say, after about age 25, no one wants to be sitting in a see-through bathtub. But this is an example of using your Facebook page to talk about a particular feature of a home. Janelle and Robin had a listing downtown Fredericksburg, and I won't forget, I loved it because it was an older home, and they had renovated it, and they had put a really cool bathtub where the water came out of the ceiling into the bathtub, and it had a couple other controls and some cool features and some smart home features. I think we wandered around the bathroom for 20 minutes trying to figure out how to turn on the water. That would have been a good element for Janelle and Robin if they were looking at coming soon to have shared on social media to say, this bathtub is wicked cool. It comes along with the house we're getting ready to sell in downtown Fredericksburg, whatever it is. So to talk about something cool about the house, and I've seen a lot of you do this in the past, starts to build some interest. It's something I may be interested in. If I am thinking about buying, I'm going to take a look at it. Another good tactic is creating a post. And so you want to get people's attention. That's what we're trying to do. Attention to maybe a particularly cool feature of the home. What you see on the graphic is it's a fake home. You can see it's the fake listing property picture I've been using for everything in here to cover up what we're really doing. The one on the right, though, the waterfront property, is actually a listing that Angel and I had and on Whispering Way. And we want to get attention, right? We're trying to get engagement for buyers who may be interested so they can reach out to us, that we can maybe be a little coy, talk about something cool coming up, tell them about price range and all the information except for where it is, so we don't violate that coming soon rule, that we keep to the spirit of the rule, but also to build some interest, let people know, put them on an email campaign, and then let everybody in my list know when my new awesome listing comes up. And so this technique is just basically doing a survey. People love to be engaged, answer questions, or participate. So in this case, what we're doing is going to Facebook and saying, what do you think I've got a new listing coming up, nothing where. What do you think is more important? Lots of acreage or waterfront? You don't really care what the answer is. Of course, waterfront's gonna be more interesting to people, especially that view, but you're gonna have people commenting on it. And of course, they're gonna give their opinion. Oh yeah, waterfront's amazing. Where is that? That's beautiful. You know what, guys, stay tuned. This listing's coming up soon. And to be able to share the features and maybe even the county or city in which it is, but not tell which property it is, still agrees and aligns with the value of, with the spirit of the rule, but get you the opportunity to build that interest on and traction for when you are able to tell people about the location and price and all the other terms. It also helps because people if they just see your listing, right? If you're just putting, this house is coming soon on your Facebook page, people scroll, they may be interested, they click and they move on. If you create a game out of it, if you gamify it, if you ask questions, if you get engagement, you are building a tribe and building relationship, but you're also getting more people to put into your database for future listings. They have tipped their hand, they may be interested in buying or even selling in the future. And they see you as someone doing something more innovative and different than just yet another listing going on your social media. So we have HomeSpotter. Once it goes active, HomeSpotter is going to take it from there and help with your social media campaigns. It's going to take care of that stuff you were trying to do on social. It's coming soon. It's going to do it in real life. And actually, yeah, I think we just did it. Somebody can help me out, Angel or Poppy, if you're on here. We just did somebody can text me. We just did a class on HomeSpotter not too long ago, I think. And that link can be shared with this one when we post it. Also using Paradigm. So the day you get your listing into MLS is coming soon, go into Paradigm, do some edits to it, have that single listing site ready so that when you go active, all those people you've been curating with all the other engagement, the Facebook engagement, the taking the surveys, all the other things, excuse me. Couldn't find the mute button fast enough. Sorry, I got a case of the sneezes. No, I am not sick. All right. I'm allergic to webinars. I have no idea. All right, anyways, so coming soon, get your coming soon interest going and get those people listed on answering questions on Facebook surveys, emailing you about your Instagram posts about putting mulch out in 28-degree weather, so that the day that the listing is available to go active, you can take the link to your Paradigm single listing website and go respond to all those people who have been asking you questions, either through email or social or whatever engagement you have, so that they're ready that day to come in. Virtual tours are another really good way to get engagement even early on, without giving up address or properties or launching it on Friday when it goes active on Monday. This is a good way to get people in the house and ready to make an offer and reduce the number of feet going in the property. Remember what I said earlier, that there are sellers who just really don't want a lot of people in their house, especially right now. And the selling point may be the virtual tour. And MLS is Bright MLS is allowing us to now put it in the public comments during this COVID period. My guess is they're probably going to make some mechanism to share that that way in the future. Even after this is over, if this ever gets away from us. But the virtual tours are something, again, that you want to have available in advance. So if you are going to make it coming soon on Monday and start promoting on Friday, you can get them right in the door right then, right there. Blogs are another good way to do this on your website. So if you're writing content about neighborhoods or specific areas, and you've got good content, and I'm using Fawn Lake here. So Fawn Lake listing, I'm writing about Fawn Lake. And at the bottom of the post where I've given all this content or built out this page about my farming area, my network area, my market area, and at the bottom, I'll say, sign up for more emails, and I'll let you know when houses are coming available before they hit MLS. And again, you don't need to do it 2 weeks in advance. If you've got this kind of content on your page, if you say I am targeting the subdivision I live in, or the one I want to geo farm, and you're building a following there, as they read the post, they're going to say, sure, I want to know about listings coming up in Fawn Lake before they're active. And you can add that to the email. Now, another trick to that could be setting up searches on your own. So every time Fawn Lake comes up with a coming soon status, where it's not going out to the public, you're sending that out to these clients who have signed up for this newsletter, as well as the new listing you just got. Additionally, if you're doing this type of content where you're constantly adding things about Lake of the Woods or Fawn Lake or Idlewild or whatever you're geo farming, it has good SEO, and people who are searching for coming soon listings or new listings in Fawn Lake are going to land on your page, because this page has what we've talked about in other classes called the long tail, where you could write it today, and the longer it remains out there and the more traffic and the more time you share it, the higher in the rankings it'll go. So 6 months after you've written it, people could be going there to look for that key phrase of see what could be coming soon on in Fawn Lake. Zillow coming soon. I wanted to just talk about this quick. This was if you were a premier Zillow agent, if you paid Zillow for leads, you're considered a premier agent. They were allowing you to enter your listing as coming soon directly to Zillow before MLS. 2 days ago, someone sent to me an article that Zillow has announced that they are no longer going to be allowing agents to enter coming soon listings on the Zillow platform because of the conflict with MLS rules and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on. And they didn't expressly say it's because of the NAR rules. They just said they weren't going to do it anymore, even if you're a premier. So this is not going to have a lot of value there. What I have heard some agents say, and not only heard them say, some people have shown me examples of it, there are agents who are taking the listing and telling the seller, I can't market it as coming soon, but you can, and encouraging the seller to go put it into Zillow, make me move, or coming soon status before it goes active. I've even heard there was an agent recently who I think they're filing a complaint against them. The agent created a fake account on behalf of the sellers and then the listing is coming soon as if he were the homeowner instead of an agent, and because of disclosure issues and all the rest, that's clearly a D4 issue. But the seller entering it creates some very serious concerns about agency and who is the procuring cause. And if your seller goes, well, brought the buyer through that thing on Zillow you told me, why am I going to pay you? You got a whole different battle to undergo that you may not want or need to undergo. All right, emails. Set up some emails on in MailChimp. MailChimp is free for your first 2,500 or so sends a month, and you can create different groups. So as I said earlier, if I've got a group of buyers who have specifically reached out and said, hey, if you see anything good coming up in Woodside subdivision, let me know. I'm going to go to MailChimp and set up Woodside database, and I'm going to email that group whenever something new is showing up in MLS is coming soon, or I myself am listing something new that's coming soon. You could also set up email campaigns called, for example, years ago I had one called Insiders Information, and it was specific for when I lived in Caroline County for the subdivision I lived in. And Insiders Information was anything I knew that was coming up, not necessarily for me becoming soon, but even for our office, because we shared that information back then. I would send out in that email. Now, with the new rules, you can only do it if it's coming soon in MLS. You can't do it if it's in your pocket unless you do it just a couple of days before. You could set up internal brokerage emails. Now, let's just talk about this for a second. Every time an agent in the company sends out an email about something that isn't real estate related, or is selling some personal property, or is sharing about, I just got a new listing, it's in MLS, I get somebody, or more than a few somebodies who email me or the brokers going, can we cut back on some of the emails? And today we really haven't, because there's another group of you who go, I really like knowing about that stuff, right? I like the ability to be able to share other needs on there. But coming soon listings, if you actually have something that is a week out, and it's it's of interest, there's nothing holding you back from sending out an email going, hey guys, just letting you know, I've got this new listing coming out. Now that does not go to company@coldwellbankerelite.com. That goes to listings@coldwellbankerelite.com or cbeva.com, because that is where, for people who do want that information, they are on that email distribution list. Company is for company help or advice or needs or sharing things. It is not for listing promotion, even pre-MLS listings. That should go on the other listings email distribution group. And if you're in an exchange, if you're either on the website or using your exchange software and you start typing listings, it'll populate the email address. Okay, internal brokerage emails we talked about. You're alienated. You no longer can use your peer groups, or what they call TAN, or top agent network groups. For a while there were companies that were selling email groups to the top producing, high producing agents in the area and saying, share this listing with these top producing full-time agents out there. Those are no longer existing. Agent groups, association groups, social media groups, peer groups are all alienated under the new rule, except for the marketing 1 business day, or before the 1 business day of entry. So again, you could start doing your social groups, your association email groups and all that on a Friday if you're going to enter it on Monday to get the following weeks going active. Can you send me an email from MailChimp? I normally just set up everything in Bright. I need you to explain that question to me better after class. Email me what you're looking for, I'll help you out. Okay, the next one is video introduction from the seller. Look, we all love people who love things, right? We will watch videos all day long of people describing what they love and how they love it and all those good things. This is something, again, on that Friday before the Monday goes active, or just in general, a good rule of thumb, maybe getting your sellers, if they're camera ready, if they're nervous and stuttering and stammering and they're not fluid and not natural, maybe those are people you film. But for other people, to have them just do a quick video, it could be a selfie video, it could be whatever, describing what they loved about the house and how they loved living there, maybe some things they've upgraded about it. That may be your content, that hook that you want to send out on the Friday before the Monday goes active, or over the weekend, saying, you know what, I am so happy to work with these sellers. They can't wait for their house to be active next week, or their listing to be active next week, and then share the video. If the sellers aren't necessarily giving you enough information to find out where their house is, this is a gray area. Someone asked me about this in the last time I taught this class. what if buyers recognize the sellers and reach out to them directly before it goes active? What if, I mean, there's a whole bunch of what ifs. I think it's unlikely you get the listing agreement signed first before you do anything, but I think it's unlikely that the sellers are going to forego you, are going to tell you not to run the video. And if you've got a listing agreement, it's as if it went in the lot. It doesn't matter what marketing venue the buyers came from. But even again, if you have the listing agreement signed and it's not going active to Friday, and you're going to send this out over the weekend to get some interest from buyers, this will be a good way to do it, a video from the sellers. Neighborhood letters, again, this needs to go out. This needs to go out quick, soon, and related to the date that the listing is going active. But um, you certainly can send out letters to neighborhoods. If you don't do the whole neighborhood, that's fine. There is the rule of 20, which is the 20 properties nearest your subject property in the subdivision. Those are the ones who take notice of your for sale sign and all the rest. Here's what I like about neighborhood letters too. So if you have a listing going active on Monday, and on Wednesday you put in the post box these letters, they'll go out around Friday, Saturday or so. Sellers open them up and they see that you're engaged. Awesome. That's cool. They need to be thinking about selling too. They may not, those close 20 neighbors may not necessarily be interested in buying, or may not have family interested in buying, but they're going to appreciate the effort that you took to get these letters out to them beforehand. So those can go out the weekend before it goes active or soon thereafter. And then the house party. We've talked about this in other classes. Getting together a party, one last party. Every seller I know, unless those are distressed sellers, have said our houses never look better than right before it goes active in MLS, right? You got there and helped them prep it and get it ready and everything else. Putting together one last party where you get their sphere of influence to come over and say, hey, you know what? Invite your friends and your family over, your church, whomever, and just let them know that you're getting ready to sell your house and you'd really like to just have a barbecue in the backyard one last time before you sell it. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to tag along that you're getting ready to sell it and have some brochures at the house. Maybe a much better way to engage consumers. Again, not doing direct public marketing, but having a very social environment where people who love the sellers, who love the property, who may have been admiring it for years themselves through various parties. Of course, it has to be a fairly interesting house, something that's got some hook to it, and sellers who are able to put on a good party and have some friends. Otherwise, you got 4 people showing up. But what's the hurt you being there and being part of that party, cookout afternoon on a Saturday, in a nice, nice weather to do that and get the word out beforehand. Your sellers will find it cool, and so will the other people who show up. And it could be a block party, it could be neighbors coming over, whoever they can invite needs to come over. Because you tell the sellers, look, I know it's an investment, I know it's your time, I know it's a big deal, but think about what we could do. We could keep other buyers from coming in, we could solicit someone early on here, you're letting people know about it. You also get to have a party. Why not do that? Invite everybody you can, because you don't know who may be interested in buying your home or have friends or relatives too. And the last thing I've seen done is find the listing game. And so there was an agent out of Texas, and I love this. I followed her doing this for 2 weeks. She goes, guys, I have a listing coming up, and whoever guesses what subdivision the listing is in is going to get a $100 gift card to Amazon, or whatever the gift was she was giving. It's like $100. And so every day for 2 weeks, she gave small clues. It would be a clue like the lot sizes are half acre. And of course, she was in a big area where those type of clues didn't narrow down to 3 subdivisions. And she went on and on and on. And even if people guessed, she would say, you know what, I'll let you know on Friday. I'll let you know on Friday. But what happened is she got hundreds of people coming and giving their guess and chatting with one another and finding friendships they haven't known, because it was a social connector. And it cost her $100. That's the cheapest ad she probably ran that year, in a gift card to build her sphere. People were tagging other friends and saying, hey, look, it's what do you call these things when you run around town looking for clues? And I don't remember. Anyways, but she kept out giving these clues. And of course, it starts off scavenger hunt. Thank you, Lori. Somebody's listening to me still. Scavenger hunt, but it's a scavenger hunt with Stephanie. You can't jump in there after Lori's already told me the answer. You don't get points for that. No, just kidding. Thank you guys for that. Yeah, I lost my phrase there. But for a scavenger hunt to help find the house, and so you're giving small clues at first, bigger clues, and then when you get ready, you're like, here it is. And now you've got 200 people who've been commenting and following you for a week on this game that you've had on your Facebook page, um, on your Facebook page that you can now share the link to, and they've already built up some interest, and maybe and then ask them, hey, look, guys, thank you so much for participating. So-and-so was the first one to guess it. I'm going to be sending her that gift card this week. For the rest of you, please do me a favor and share this property to your friends and family and anybody else who may be interested in buying. Because now they've been watching to see if they were right? You got their attention by engaging them. Vera says it's geocaching. Fair enough. All right, maybe you could use geocaching. I have no idea. That may be something, people still do that. I thought it was very, very cool back in the day when my kids were little, but lost track of it. All right, so we've unpacked a lot of ideas, a lot of rules, a lot of changes, a lot of hopefully some mindset changes about the value of it. Here's the bottom line for me. Anytime you're doing these things, legitimately ask. Don't try to justify it by trying to make it the seller's best interest. Legitimately ask, is what I'm doing in the seller's best interest? Is it in the best interest of the seller to actually get on the market? I actually got done exactly in 1 hour, so I'm going to keep talking for a minute because it could not be me if I get done in 1 hour. I just want to share this story with you. One of our agents earlier last year had a client who was interested in a particular property, and there was a coming soon sign out front. They engaged our agent, and it was a neighboring property there. So the potential buyer was watching it with great interest. Engaged our agent. Our agent reached out to the listing agent who kept putting him off with kind of BS reasons as to why he didn't have a price and why they couldn't accept offers. Finally, our agent's client, the buyer, reached out directly to the listing agent, who very blatantly in writing, and I'm giving you the very abbreviated version, said, hey, look, if you want to bring an offer, I will help you write it. And if you come without an agent, we'll reduce the commission. That is after the buyer said, I have an agent. And after the listing agent should have put all this together. That's the kind of stuff that keeps boiling up as a problem that they were trying to resolve. So I understand that a lot of you are very ethical. You would never consider it in the best, not in the best interest of the seller. Some of us go, well, everybody's doing it, so I don't see the problem with it. I'm okay with coming soon for short periods of time. I'm really okay with it as long as you want, so long as it's not in excess of 21 days and it's in MLS and you abide by those rules. But be smart about what you're doing. Try to be creative. This is an opportunity. Like just a couple ideas I shared here, I've seen other agents do, and it's gone well, but they had the benefit of also building more of a tribe and more engagement. So be smart about it. Ask what I'm doing in the seller's truly my seller's best interest, and go from there. And so with that, thank you for your time this morning and spending it with me. Just a couple minutes. If you have any questions, I'll linger here for a second. You can ask them in the question box, and I will do my best to answer them. Okay, if you're thinking of questions, great. If not, let me just say this. This is going to be recorded today. I have set up a page on Elite Scoop that I'll be sharing the link on the Facebook page, on the internal Facebook page later this afternoon, probably actually in the next hour or so, where we are taking all of our recorded sessions from 2020 and putting them on one page so you can sort through and find all of them in case you missed one. If you came in late for this, if you left early, you're not going to be here where I'm saying this, but if you came in late, the recordings are going to be posted later today on one page with one link that you can review in the future. All right, let's say one quick question. Quick question is sort of related. It sounds like they have a problem with dual agency. Why don't they go after that specifically? I don't do dual. Yeah, so dual agency has been just a bane of existence. Even in the states in which they've said they don't do dual agency and they do transaction agency, it's just a different version of it with bigger disclosures and less service and a bunch of other things. The state still has some pretty rural areas in which the argument has been that a broker who is just a broker by themselves, working by themselves, or even with one agent is still a dual agent. And so they don't want to crush the business in rural areas where it's an option. That's the excuse they give. The reality is that the people who make these decisions have been around for so long. The dual agency has been part of their fabric for so long, and they have not come up with a creative way or a better way to get around it. So I think it's coming. I think it's going to be a few more lawsuits, but it is going to come at some point. Non-client is perfectly fine, so long as they sign a disclosure and you stick to it and don't give advice or counsel or help them out other than writing out paperwork. that's probably your best and safest bet in this. But it's not just dual agency. It was just people were getting around that too by referring to a buyer agent in their company, a referral agreement with, and sort of other stuff. So, anyways, thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. You guys have a great day and stay healthy.